All right, on to the next one. All right. So another, show of community unity and letting the voice, letting voices be heard. Um, and this kind of reminds me of the city council meeting where the Westwood neighborhood showed up on to the council meeting and protested against a permit being submitted to a company that wanted to build a gas station down on South Third. Uh, but this is a little bit different in nature. We've been hearing a lot of stories concerning Beale Street and the violence that's been going on down on Beale Street, definitely on the weekends, late hours, but downtown period, and the effort to have more of a police presence, which I did see a lot of articles. I didn't go down to that area this past weekend, but I did hear in a lot of articles that there was an increased presence of police officers and arrests down in that area or whatever it was. I don't know if it was arrests or not, and that's not what I'm promoting. The presence is enough by itself. And if something does end up happening, those people are there to address that immediately, not after the fact. That's the issue. When you don't have enough of a presence down in a particular area, especially when you have tourists coming into the area who bring money into our community or bring money into the economic structure of tourism dollars, and they're afraid to go to tourism spots. Not good. So, all right, we have a story from Fox 13. Dozens gathered marching down Beale Street to stop violence in Memphis. Let's take a quick look at this video and see what they have to say. Should be a short, quick one.
Dozens of people marching down iconic Beale Street on Saturday for one goal, that is ending violence here in the Bluff City. Fox 13 Jeremy Pierre explains how the prayers and words of the people who march today are for everyone to come together.
Over the last 5 months, crime and violence have hit Beale, leaving several people shot and a man even losing his life.
We had to stand up.
That's why folks tell me they gathered to march against violence from Ida B. Wells or down Beale to Handy Park.
Everything shouldn't come down to gunplay. It shouldn't come down to we losing souls out here. It shouldn't come down to that. I feel like the whole city needs to stand up and come out the pulpits, come out the higher places because we got to face this thing. We got to face it head on.
They all believe Memphis is better than the violence many have experienced and know better days are ahead, especially for the youth who for so many are finding themselves in or around trouble.
It's no way around it. It's nowhere around it. We done lost the last 3-4 generations. We cannot lose another generation. So grab a hold to them young ones, embrace them, give them something to do or they're going to find something to do.
In March, near the same area of Beale, Memphis police investigated the shooting death of a man. Memphis police arrested Corville Rogers. Rogers is currently facing a first-degree murder charge. About a month after, 3 gunmen shot 3 people in front of the tin roof. Those who gathered say they hope this march can penetrate the souls of those who feel violence is the way of solving their problems. On Beale, Jeremy Pierre, Fox 13 News.
Yeah, I think that's a great look. Well, and so let's tie this into. So this happened last week, at the very end of last week, okay? And this was before, obviously, the weekend. Should have been. I believe that this occurred, but on the 20th is when they released this story. So they released it. Jeremy Pierre did on Saturday the 20th. Let's read at what they. And I think that this story is pretty much covering what happened or what they already said in the video. But there was one other thing that I wanted to take a look at. And we'll tie this together. All right, so let's take a look at this. All right, so this march happened end of last week, whether it be Saturday or Friday, I'm not sure. It was one of the 2 days. And this story came out on the 22nd. Memphis Mayor Paul Young talks of downtown safety in wake of deadly Beale Street shooting. All right. In the wake of a deadly shooting over the weekend on Beale Street. So this is this past weekend. Mayor Paul Young said in an interview with Fox 13, he wants stricter restrictions on where guns are allowed and pushed for more officers across the city. The mayor sat down with Valerie and Ernie on Monday and discussed the ongoing crime issue in Memphis. Asked about a deadly shooting that took place Saturday night at Church Park at Beale and 4th Streets, Young called it unfortunate. Young noted that the deadly shooting over the weekend happened just outside of the entertainment district's security zone. Nonetheless, he wants tougher gun restrictions at places like city parks and on Beale Street. He also said he wants those who fire their gun in restricted areas to face harsher penalties. I think we need a radical transformation of our mindset, Young said. A lot of what we're seeing of individuals making the choice to shoot somebody, we can step up our penalties and our officers can do everything they can to get people off the streets. But until we can shift that mindset, we're going to have challenges with it. Young was among many who marched down Beale Street on Saturday in hopes of ending violence across Memphis. Hours later, police reported the deadly shooting at Beale and 4th Streets. Young said he learned that the shooting stemmed from a fight between two people. Unfortunately, one lost their life, he said. I think it's an example of what happens all across our city. We have far too many people who got their guns, that turn to guns immediately to resolve their issues. Young expressed concerns that the recent spat of violence has created a negative image of downtown Memphis. Even when crime doesn't happen in the area, the perception of crime is equally as damaging as the reality of crime. Young also told Fox 13 that he hopes to increase the number of Memphis police officers by 300. Currently, the department has between 1,900 and 2,000 officers, he said. He said that for those who have visited downtown Memphis in the past couple of weeks, they have seen a strong presence of law enforcement. But still, he said he needs the community to change its mentality in order to keep the crime rate low. This is why I tell everyone that we need a citywide mission. We're all on the same page. Yep. So that's what I wanted to key in on. I think Mayor Young's a little bit older than I am, but I think ultimately we all have pretty much the same kind of viewpoint on this crime deal. And it's just about public safety, wanting to feel safe walking around the city without worrying about being in the middle of someone else's problem. So it's one thing to have your own problem with someone and then have to deal with that stress, but you can't even be out walking in the street because someone else might be having a problem and you may end up as a casualty due to their issues. And then not even that, who wants to walk around and feel like you're walking in a war zone? At any given moment, you can hear gunshots fire going off. That's stressful by itself. If we want the city to continue to flourish or grow, the only way that that's going to begin to happen is if the public safety issue is addressed all the way around. And there has to be buy-in from everybody in the community. Bringing the right people to the table. I remember a while back when we had a rash of shootings and a lot of things were going on. Pretty much as soon as Mayor Young took office, he had to sit down with local gang leaders. You have to have buy-in from them too. But how things operate nowadays, there really isn't a chain of command, or there's not a lot. And so I'm not in that world, so I'm not going to speak to that. But perception is there's not a thought process behind how things are operating on any level. It's quick, split-second decisions, and then something takes place, and it's happening across the board. I don't even remember what the result was from Mayor Young sitting down with shot callers or whoever, makes those types of decisions. Because I think that they were going to have, or he was calling for a ceasefire in the city for X amount of days. Which is, it's great. It's a good effort. I mean, if there's somewhere to start, then that's exactly where it is. And I'm just community stakeholders is what they are, but I don't want to get them confused with, you have one person out here trying to do football for the kids and all the rest of this stuff. And then you have somebody else that might be dibbling and dabbling in other things that might bring a little bit of the drama with it or whatnot. So community stakeholder might not be the right word. I'll come up with a word that works for it, but you understand what I mean. Since he was speaking to that table of people, their voice was heard. And when they spoke, they said what these kids need is jobs. They need something to do. They need to make money some type of way. Now, there has to be buy-in again, because we already talked about the entrepreneur thing and bringing kids in, even bringing in whoever that may have been wayward and try to give them something else to, push for. And so it should be interesting to see kind of how we can make that whole thing unfold. But the deal is right here, the community spoke. Here, the community spoke. There was a protest, I guess you would call it, a march. I don't know how many people were there. I don't care if it was 2 people. There was a group of people that went and let their mindset be known for the betterment of the entire community. They left. And a few hours later, on Beale and 4th, there's a shooting and somebody loses their life. Now I understand that isn't on, it's not on Beale Street. And so the security bubble that they have for Beale Street itself may not have been, they couldn't prevent whatever was going on as far as the argument and so on and so forth. That's where a lot of these other things need to start coming into play as far as people having a different, like it was said inside the article, a different mindset. I'm not going for a gun immediately. But something needs to happen, because if anybody was down there on that particular day, they witnessed the shooting or were around while that happened. If I'm a visitor from out of town in Memphis, and then the first thing that I see is someone, or hear or am close to, is someone getting shot, I'm not going to be too quick to try to come back to the city. Now, I probably would, because, like in Paid in Food, folks get shot every day, B. But, nah, it's not the right mindset to have. It's not the right mindset to have. I'd love to hear your opinion. I'd like to hear your opinion. What could even, where do you start with that type of deal? Yeah, increasing the penalties is, ultimately going to be, that'll be the major deterrent if that can actually happen. But that's a long outlook. That doesn't happen overnight. If that's what they do. Now, I don't know. He said he wants to see harder restrictions for where guns are allowed. If you're discharging a gun in a certain area, there's stiffer penalties, X, Y, Z. But why is that not already in place? And this isn't new. This isn't new to Mayor Paul Young. Mayor Paul Young walked into this. You know, so let's read a story real quick about this shooting on Beale Street, because this is going to be something else that we'll end up having to we'll have to pay attention to. All right, so ABC 24, and this all ties in together. The march on Beale, Mayor Young speaking directly after, because there was a shooting, and then these are the shootings that he was speaking and referencing. All right, 2 weekend shootings in downtown Memphis have some calling for added MPD presence. Multiple downtown Memphis shootings over the weekend sparked questions with Memphians on the promised MPD presence from Mayor Paul Young. All right. The constant struggle to make people feel safer in downtown Memphis took a blow over the weekend after 2 shootings happened within hours of each other. I didn't even know about the second one. Last Saturday before 11 p.m., Memphis police told ABC 24, 44-year-old, and I'll definitely say his name because he was the victim, Benjamin Morrell, all prayers go out to his family and loved ones, was shot near 4th Street and Beale Street. Authorities said Morrell later died from his injuries at a nearby hospital. MPD said Morrell was recently arrested on July 14th, a weekend before he was killed, during Operation Saturday Night Live for multiple drug possession charges. The other shooting happened on Sunday around 4 a.m. MPD said one was injured in a shooting near Main and Pontotoc. According to a police report, officers found 18 shell casings at that scene. Police said the incident started from an argument between the victim and 3 men. In April, Mayor Paul Young promised Memphians there will be more police officers hitting the streets to keep the community protected. Cookie Canuck owner Sean Danko said when crime hits the downtown area, it hurts tourism and businesses. We're feeling the pressure not only from a local perspective, but also from a tourism perspective, that sales are down. Danko said police activity has been slow up until the last few weeks. He said the issues of reducing crime are far from being resolved. I don't think we've solved anything yet, because we've dug a deep hole for ourselves, and we've got to find ways to back out. Terrence Wright is a Memphian who works near downtown Memphis. He believes more police will prevent some shootings from happening. To be honest, it's getting way too regular around these parts. The police presence is definitely needed. Right at it, he doesn't believe the need to reduce. He doesn't believe the need to reduce crime should fall solely on the city of Memphis administration. He said the community should step up too. They've got a plan that they are going by, and with our community, we got a plan that we can go by to try and get everything together. Maybe we can get all of this taken care of as a whole together. Yeah. And then Mayor Paul Young said the incidents took place outside of Beale Street. We saw that. All right. So any injury or loss of life to gun violence is unacceptable, and we are working strategically with MPD to apprehend the individuals responsible for these actions and to reduce overall violent crime across the city. Yeah. Well, number one thing, they definitely have to pull in the people who did it. We can't have any more unsolved anythings. We can't afford any more unsolved anythings. I think that the confidence in, MPD is pretty damn low. The confidence in MLG&W is pretty damn low. They have nothing to do with public safety, but still. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be it's an uphill battle. I'd like to hear your comments. I'm not going to sit here and keep on commenting on this because I sound like a broken record. I'm going to keep on covering it, and whatever needs to be said will be said. But I'd like to hear your comments on this. If anybody has any opinion, or even if you have a background, or, you just have an idea for anything that should happen, I'd love to hear it. Hopefully we'll take the small steps that need to be taken. Obviously getting more of a police presence is absolutely important, and solving the existing crimes is absolutely important. So it'll be interesting to see where this thing goes, and we'll make sure to keep an eye on, one, the police presence downtown Memphis, but two, to see whether or not they're apprehending the people that are involved in these particular incidences.